since 1966.
This is NBC4's News Conference with Conan Nolan, Southern California's longest-running public affairs program.
When I came into office, I said...
On this edition of News Conference, it has been a bad month for the mayor of Los Angeles. First, his effort at a parcel tax to increase funding for LAUSD is soundly rejected by voters. Then, a new report says the city's homeless population is continuing to climb, up 16%. And now, pushback from perhaps the city's most powerful union. 9,000 unionized DWP workers under the banner of Working Californians.
Now he's back with new green taxes.
Have gone on the attack against the mayor's Green New Deal, saying it is unworkable, will hurt middle and low-income residents, and cost jobs. We talk with the architect of that campaign, Brian D'Arcy, the business manager of the powerful Local 18 of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Is this evidence of a growing split within the Democratic Party between unionized workers, long a party constituency, and environmental activists? We talk with Congresswoman Karen Bass about that and why, after supporting impeachment of President Trump last year, she's backed off from that position, much to the frustration of some of her Democratic colleagues.
This president is a clear and present danger.
And perhaps the most influential pro-impeachment advocate outside of Washington. We sit down with billionaire Tom Steyer, the man behind the Need to Impeach movement.
Good morning and welcome to the Tom Brokaw News Center here at Universal Studios. I'm Conan Nolan. He is one of the most powerful individuals in Los Angeles, the leader of the union that represents the workers of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Brian D'Arcy is the business manager for IBEW Local 18, and you've been there for about 30 years. Is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you for coming. So listen, you had an ad buy, 7 figures, on television, on this station, digital, radio, going after the mayor. You start off talking about the homeless crisis that he hasn't solved, and then you dovetail into the Green New Deal and his green taxes. What's the point?
The point is that there is no real plan to deal with what they've suggested. And if they go ahead with what's on the table, they're going to triple the rates, probably create more homeless people, and they'll hurt the people who can least afford to pay those rates.
Now let's talk about some of what he says. Listen, he says we want zero carbon electricity in the grid by 2045. That is, and the state of California is moving in that direction. What's the matter with that? Not
by those dates. Doing what they're doing, which is really becoming a reliability issue and a rate issue.
Why is it a reliability issue?
Because all of those plants are there for voltage support. That means that
the plants you're talking about are the gas-fired plants,
right? The scattergood,
which he wants to get rid of.
And he just by fiat said they're going to go down by 2023. We just had like a mini heat wave. How long did it last? It lasted from maybe half a day across 24 hours, and then it started to cool down. In that small period of time, the Scattergood generating station and the other 2 plants generated 2,000 megawatts of energy to keep the lights on. That was only a little bit of a glitch, where it was hot and unexpected. But imagine what's going to happen this summer.
And you're saying if those plants go away, you're not going to be able to fill the gap.
They're already on spit and chewing gum. So if you don't do what you need to do to keep them running and keep claiming that you're going to shut them down, you're not doing anybody any favors. And unless people want to sit in the dark, that's not really a feasible solution.
Right, but he says, wait, we're going to have wind, we're going to have solar by then.
But part of the plan is 200 miles of transmission on the west side. I don't know any West Siders that want a transmission tower in their backyard. They pretty much don't want anything done over there. And besides that, it takes 10 years to get a permit.
So again, abandoning those 3 plants, we're talking about Scattergood and El Segundo, Harbor and Wilmington, Haines as well, you say is going to lead to a lack of affordability and simply a lack of power.
Exactly.
But they have an idea. I mean, the climate change folks are saying we're investing in technology that will give us battery power to store this so that when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, we have power.
The requirement on paper right now is for 1,800 megawatts of battery storage. Do you know how much space that takes?
No.
29 acres. And the last time I looked, there's not 29 acres in El Segundo waiting to have a container-sized lithium battery placed on it. I mean, they have a 7-year life according to the manufacturer, but the ARC experience is 4.5 years. So when you're done, you have a ship container-sized lithium battery that is essentially a toxic waste dump because China and Korea won't take them back.
Okay, the mayor says every building, he wants every building from skyscrapers to single-family homes emission-free by the year 2050. I mean, no CO2, which means no natural gas, nothing. It's all renewable. Doable?
Maybe, if the technology catches up. My experience with the technology, they were saying this a decade ago. And, you know, in terms of, you know, believe me or don't believe me, I've been involved in energy policy in California since 1980. I represented workers at PG&E in the north for 10 years before I came to LA. So in terms of energy policy, including deregulation, including the energy crisis, I was always part of the conversation.
And you're not a part of this conversation?
No, apparently not. But my members can be threatened with their job eliminated.
Okay. The mayor says, and he's not alone, that climate change is an existential threat. It threatens the existence of the city. Mark Gold is an associate dean at UCLA for sustainability. He said, quote, the mayor is taking a huge step forward. There's little time left to address the planet's climate crisis, and without ambitious blueprints like the one the mayor has put forth, humanity will never make the necessary financial investments, pass the necessary legislation, change our wasteful culture of consumption, and shift to a greener, less polluting economy.
I don't want to seem cynical. However, I've looked at the mayor's plan, and there's no there. To call it a blueprint, there's no blueprint here.
Your union has been part of the Democratic Party for a long time. Organized labor is a strong constituency of this party. But we're starting to see a fracture, a split.
The Democratic Party needs to stay, you know, it has too many lanes already, but it needs to stay centralized. And
You mean a centrist position, as far as you're concerned?
yeah.
Are your members voting for Donald Trump, do you expect?
I hope not.
But you worry about that.
But I worry about it because, you know, when they do things like this and they talk, you know, and everybody wants to sign on to the Green New Deal. But if anybody's read it, there's no there. It's like a list of aspirations.
Brian D'Arcy is the general manager of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 18, for the Department of Water and Power. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks.
I appreciate it. Up next, we hear from Congresswoman Karen Bass, Democrat of Los Angeles, about the split of the Democratic Party between the environmental wing and organized labor, plus her attitude about impeaching the President of the United States. That when we return.
A good friend.